Hey y'all, it's your girl V, and we're back with another episode of With Love V. Super excited to be here on my green velvet couch with you all today. What are we talking about? We're talking about decluttering your mind and getting your ideas out of your head for the sake of productivity. Y'all know I'm always speaking from a place of what I'm personally experiencing presently, or have been experiencing, or experienced in the past. And this one was something I recently was going through, and shout out to my mother and her wisdom. I always say that I think God speaks to me through her so often, but she definitely helped me in digging myself out of the confusion I was in. So I have a tendency to have a lot of ideas. I do think that I'm someone who is creative by nature, though I do have a strong type A, super organized side. I also have my creative all over the place, can't really focus on one thing for too long, ways of thinking and doing. But I was going through something, and I was talking to my mom one day, and I told her, I was like, I just have so many ideas sometimes. And some ideas I just let go because I no longer have a heart for it. And for me, I'm just like, if I don't have a heart for something, I'm not gonna waste my time or anyone else's time pursuing something half-hearted. So I was talking to her and just saying I have all these ideas and all these career goals and personal goals and financial goals that I want to achieve for myself. And it just all seems very overwhelming trying to achieve it all. And part of that is because I'm letting everything just exist in my mind all at once, and I'm not giving myself space to just kind of reprioritize, or I'm incorrectly prioritizing. And so I know y'all have heard, so many people say write your ideas down and watch them come to life. But I feel like that same principle of writing things down comes to just kind of decluttering your mind as well. I feel like after talking to my mom and her saying, she was like, write down every single one of your goals you want and break them down into buckets. So like I said, I have my career goals and projects that I want to work on. And then I have my financial goals that I want to work towards. And then I have personal development goals that I want to work on and strive to achieve. And so after getting off the phone with her, grabbed my journal and just started writing literally anything and everything that came to mind. And when I tell you, I instantly felt relieved. I know I have been putting way too much pressure on myself. The way my mind was just so packed with all of these thoughts that were now on paper. It's just it was no wonder that I could only spend so long focusing on one thing before wondering oh, should I actually be focusing on this goal I have over here? And just kind of pinballing all over the place. I literally feel like the inside of my brain was a lit up pinball machine. And I just couldn't focus. And I was just constantly anxious and just, trying to figure out what should I do? What should I do? Or feeling I need to do this now, because if I get this done, I can get this done. And I think ultimately writing everything down helped me, one, see everything on paper, and then I was able to reprioritize and figure out okay, this is something that's more feasible for me to achieve now. And also identifying okay, this financial goal that I have here can help me, once I achieve that, that can help me in achieving this personal development or this career goal that I have over here. And just kind of seeing how all of my ideas work and flow together, and there is somewhat of a natural progression within some of them, which again makes things feel more feasible. And it also helps me bring it down to looking at what is step one, because I also have a tendency to have an idea but then automatically start thinking about what's the big picture here, and then it just becomes really daunting, because I do like to think that I dream pretty big. But when you're looking at a big goal or a big pie in the sky dream and envisioning it a certain way, but then looking at where you currently are, and there's just this huge gap in between where you are and where you're trying to get to. And for me, that can and does get very overwhelming and puts me to a point of a point of inaction, or I'll start thinking about something else instead and say okay, I'll come back to this. And another thing about that exercise is it just helped me realize that my goals aren't as crazy as I think they are sometimes. Like I said, I'm a pretty big dreamer, and it can get overwhelming trying to figure out like where should I go. But being able to break things down into smaller steps, it also made me a lot more hopeful. I think initially when I had all the thoughts in my head, it was discouraging to a certain extent because I was just like, I'm never going to be able to get all of this done. Like, how is this possible? But like I said, shout out to my mom. I really do think like having that conversation with her and it being like, take it down a notch and get everything out of your head so you can actually break it down and figure it out. Just doing that alone helped me reconfigure and I guess like replan certain goals that I'm working towards presently. And those goals feel so much more feasible. And it has encouraged and like stirred up like this excitement in me again about some of the goals that I have for myself. And that's something that I'm incredibly thankful for, because I will also admit that I struggle sometimes with like the balance between being content with where I am and always trying to achieve the next thing. And I think that there is a lot of value in being content with where you are, because it helps you recognize that you're not coming from a place of lack. I think a lot of the time, sometimes when like I think about, you know, okay, I'm trying to achieve this next goal, like this is what I want to do. It's easy thinking like that and also looking at these pie in the sky goals to be like, I don't know how I'm going to get here, or feel like I don't have the resources to get it done. So another thing I also struggle with is balancing between being content with where I am and also being very much a goal chaser. It's known that I am somewhat of a hustler and I'm always like, what's next, what's next, what's next? But another thing my mom reminded me of is just like, you know, sometimes you have to be still and you have to be content in where you are and focus on what you do have. And I think that logic of focusing on what you do have also makes you think a little more strategically in terms of like what your present resources are. Because like I said, with me always having a habit of looking at, you know, where I presently am and the goal that I'm trying to reach, I sometimes feel like that big abyss in the middle is an area of lack, where it's like, okay, I don't know how I'm going to get to this place because I feel like I don't have the resources to presently get there. But in finding contentment with where I am and being able to realize like what I do have around me, it helps me think a lot more strategically about how I can get from point A to that end goal, and also come from a place of being thankful and grateful for where I am, but also being expectant and grateful in advance for where I'm going to go. And like I said, like ever since I've done that exercise, I feel like my mind's been a lot clearer. I've been a lot less anxious. My house has been cleaner, because I don't know if I'm the only one, but when I'm anxious, my house is a mess. Like it just trickles out from my bedroom to the living room to the kitchen. And I can usually tell when I need to figure something out or sit still with myself for a while based on like the status of my house. I do feel a lot like I have a lot more clarity. I feel a lot more focused. And like I said, I feel very hopeful about, you know, that I'm going to get where I'm going to go. And, you know, being content in this present place that I am, that's perfect. And being grateful for the things that I have, that's great. But also being expectant and also equally excited about where I'm going to go, and knowing that like that's going to happen, because I do feel like God does answer prayers and he does hear you. And if, you know, I definitely pray on the things that I want for myself, and I ask God to always guide me and show me, you know, like if this is not for me or if this is not of you, let me know so I can like take it off the plate. And even in the goals that I do want to achieve, like making sure that they are aligned with what my path is meant to be, and being open to pivoting and adjusting if I have to, not being so married to my ideas. But again, super helpful getting them out. I feel like I can breathe a lot easier. I feel like I can communicate things a lot easier, because my mind's not so bogged down with so many things and trying to force myself into doing like so much at once. But yeah, and I feel like that's a really great space, especially as like the new year is approaching. Not to say like you should wait until the new year to like do goal setting. I think that's a practice you should continuously be doing. But at the same time, like there is a part of me that's like, okay, I feel like I am in a good space of clarity and in a space to do more going into this new year. and continuing to like push forward and just expand and increase and, like I said, do more. So I'm excited. I hope y'all are excited. Thank you for tuning in. This is With Love V. Why you look at my house like that when I said
I just wanted to be sure, like she doing that. What she said is how you can base it, so I'll be
really
remiss.
It was crazy. Like, when I say crazy, I walked into my apartment one day and I was just like, I can't do this. I was like looking at my spaces, just stressing me out. And I was like, I like being in clean spaces, but I can't have a clean space if I don't have a clean mind.
No, I'm the same way.
So, whew.